Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to my newest podcast series called Automation Nation. This is the season of golf, and I'm very, very excited to have Ben Bauer on the show today to kind of talk a little bit. Ben and I, we already have a relationship. We are already working together, automating some things for him in his golf facility at Ibis Club. But this show is actually to hear about Ben and to learn about Ben. So my research tells me that we know he's the director of golf at Ibis. He has over 25 years in the golf industry, 15 years in private country clubs, I think, from what I saw. He had his own club at one point, but he literally is somebody that I see that just gets it. He sees the future. I saw that the first time I met him. So between his top tracer and what he's doing with us. So I want Ben to take this a little bit of an opportunity to introduce himself, probably much better than I just did. So.
All right. Hey, thanks, Joe. I'm glad to be with you today. Yeah, again, my name is Ben Bauer. I'm the director of golf here at the club at Ibis. I came on board here in the fall of 2014. So in my 8th year here at the club. Prior to coming to Ibis, I was at St. Andrews Country Club in Boca Raton, a 36-hole facility there. And then prior to that, started my career in Michigan at a small private club with 18 holes, where I ended up owning the shop. Basically, the club paid me to own and manage the entire golf operation for them. So great experience for me right out of the gate at 25 years old to actually put my money on the line to run the operation for the members. So, I've kind of, I guess, taken that philosophy with me throughout my career, whereas, every stop I've made, I kind of look at it as my own business. And if it were my own money and my own revenue and expenses, what decisions would I make? And that's how I make a lot of my decisions. So, in terms of automation, I'm really excited about where we're at here at Ibis. We just finished a $3 million practice facility renovation. We opened it up this past fall with our director of instruction, Martin Hall, and Annika Sorenstam on site with our friends from Top Tracer Range here to help provide their input into the grand opening and contest we had that day. I know, Joe, you were here as one of our partners as we opened up and launched the range with robotic pickers and mowers on the range as well. And so, yeah, we're really excited about where we're headed and being a distinguished club of America and a platinum club. We take pride in trying to be progressive, trying to be leaders in the industry and doing things that, hopefully, make sense and get other clubs to appreciate what it is we're doing here. But not only that, first and foremost, improve on ways that we can provide better services and amenities to our members. And, if there's opportunities for that, for instance, through technology like Top Tracer Range, to keep them engaged and to get them more engaged, we're all about it. And, things like the robotic pickers and mowers where, we can, let them do some of the heavy lifting, if you will, for us on the practice facilities that, it was taking bodies away from doing other things to where, we can now apply those bodies to, more service-oriented positions and taking better care of our members.
Well, so see, as I said, you were going to introduce yourself much better than I would. So great job with that. I have to say, to kind of give a little bit of background, when I, being based in Illinois, I've always been amazed now that I've had the opportunity to come and start to work with clubs in Florida. And a lot of that is honestly because the first one I started work with is just a premier club, right? But how I don't think people really understand the business aspect of golf. And at the end of the day, it's a service industry. So you're servicing your members. And one of the things I'll say just to tell you that I'm always most impressed from the minute I met you is how you remember everybody's names on at that club.
Yeah.
I have to tell the people listening when I'm driving around with Ben for the first site survey we did, seems to know every person's name. So I'm always, since the minute I met you, have been super impressed with that. So let's go into the technology part and you guys doing that. Did you get how hard was it for you to bring stuff like Top Tracer or things that technology into a game that kind of, in my opinion, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, it sometimes seems slow to evolve, right? Because the game is the game. And did you have any problems with that at that club, or was it instantly taken in as this is a great opinion, let's roll with it?
Well, let me just preface, what I'm about to say with the fact that, since I've been here, the members took over from the developer here at the club in 2010. So in 2010, the members, put together their own board, started to put together their own governance, went to the bank and said, we need to upgrade our facilities. And, this is what we have coming in. This is how many members we have. This is our initiation fee. And so, the bank gave them a loan for $43 million for their first construction project. So when I arrived here in 2014, they were about 9 months to a year, I guess, in that first renovation of upgrading the facility. So at that time, doubling the size of the clubhouse, building a new sports complex with, 3 pools, a poolside restaurant, tennis center, fitness center. And so, that was kind of phase 1. So we've really been under construction in some way, shape, or form since I've been here since 2014. And so, all this kind of culminated with our last project, which I mentioned was our range renovation, our practice facility renovation. And so, we went to the members and we said, we need to do this project first and foremost because our infrastructure was the oldest on property. I mean, our drainage, and you saw it, Joe, when you were here, our drainage was, past its prime and collapsing and failing, and our irrigation system was in the same shape, but you do a renovation like that and you spend, $1.5 million, $2 million, and the members don't see anything for it. So we said, okay, what can we do to really enhance this renovation? So we came up with this, that we wanted to put together the state-of-the-art practice facility. So that state-of-the-art is kind of how all this started. What things can we add, that are state-of-the-art? And so when we started researching, I saw in PGA Magazine the advertisement for the robotic pickers, reached out to you and we started having those conversations because, to me, those are state of the art at this point. Not many facilities have them. And, as we started having conversations, about the usage rate of them, capacity of them, the potential payroll savings by having them in place, it all started to make sense for us. At the same time, we were looking at other technologies. As you mentioned, the Top Tracer range technology, while we were the first, I think, golf course in the state of Florida to have the robotic pickers and mowers, we were also the first private club in the state of Florida to have Top Tracer range or to offer Top Tracer range to our members. So the beauty with the Top Tracer range is it really engages our members, whether you're a social golfer, whether you're, a longtime traditionalist. There's really something for everyone with the Top Tracer. I mean, there's practice sessions, there's games. We've seen, during holidays, families out there playing the various games on the app, members working on their game, members just warming up utilizing the technology so they can get an idea of, how far they're hitting their shots, how high they're launching their driver, the spin. So there's a lot of different ball data that can come out of utilizing the Top Tracer range. And, so we're really looking to, advance that technology with our members and adding some social functions to it. Our ladies used it this last fall for a drive, chip, and putt competition where we bring TVs out and leaderboards and some, snacks and hors d'oeuvres, to, a cigar and bourbon night for the guys out there. So we're looking to really push the envelope there in terms of our offerings and our amenities and services that we're offering to the members. So we're really excited about utilizing that again, going back to this whole idea and concept of state-of-the-art practice facilities. The other thing we were really excited about, so we have a dual-ended driving range. And so we put Top Tracer Range across the south end of our range, which is where all of our instruction takes place. That's where our Ibis Golf Academy is. And our director of instruction is Martin Hall, who has his own show on the Golf Channel. So very well known in the golf industry. Still teaches several tour players who come on property to take lessons and get coached by Martin. But our instructors all teach out of that end. And that's really where our members go to work on their games. Our north end of the driving range is where we see our members really go just to warm up. You know, they have a tee time, they're showing up, 20, 30 minutes before their tee time. They just want to hit a few shots just to warm up. So that's happening at the north end. So, really to add to their experience in the north end, most driving ranges have some sort of yardage system, periodically on the range or at the back of the range tee that tells the yardage to every target out there. Well, we found a company called Flagged Golf, and they have a digital yardage device where they come in, they GPS it. We've attached them right to our apple crates. So every day as we move our apple crates, it's a push of the button for our staff, and it recalculates the yardage. So at every hitting station, the members see the yardage, the digital yardage to every single target that's out there. So, there's no guessing to what the yardage actually is that they're hitting to. Another feature that we were really excited about, and I know it was tough on you, Joe, incorporating with the pickers and the mowers was, we wanted to have better targets on the range. Before, the renovation, we had a big expansive hitting area. Our practice facilities are really about 18 total acres when you add in our short game areas, and I think the deck out there, if I'm not mistaken, is about 13 or 14 acres, maybe 12, somewhere in there. And it was pretty much
it's 12.41 to be exact, actually.
Okay, yeah.
I think, yeah.
Okay. So it was pretty much if you remember, kind of just like an open field with some target flags out there. So we really wanted to, enhance that part of it. So we put in target greens. But we're a busy place. We played 120,000 rounds last year on our 3 courses. So, we didn't want to put something in that was going to take a lot of time and effort to maintain out on the range. So we partnered with another company that actually put in synthetic target greens for us. And I know that was tough on you and wiring for the robots, but, the synthetic target greens, surrounds, and even the bunkers surrounding those greens are all synthetic turf. But from the teeing area, they look like real greens, and act a lot like real greens because of the base layers of sand that they've put on those synthetic greens. So another thing that we incorporated again in this whole concept of offering a state-of-the-art practice facility to our members.
Yeah, and I can tell the audience, it's really something. Even down, you didn't even mention the X that's in there. I actually thought you were going to tell me that was my hassle, because believe it or not, the X is my biggest. The X has been my biggest challenge. The synthetic turfs, to expand a little bit, why that was a challenge was we had to actually sew the wire in underneath the turf and bring wire, pull it 5 feet, bring it under. But that was worth the challenge because it aesthetically does add. For the people that are on those targets hitting, it actually gives them something very visible to hit at.
Yeah.
And so the thing about it is, when it comes to automating things, I've always been someone that's been an advocate for working with the partner or the club you're working for to realize their need and not say, well, I need this to automate it. It's more of what do I need to do around what you need to make sure I can still automate, right? So it was well worth it. And it's served us the title you said about being the first to have it down there. It's the hardest install, and Echo says this at every show. It's the most complex install in the world. So Ibis Club, talking about state of the art, has one of the most complex robotic cutter picker installs in the entire world, which says a lot because there's thousands, actually millions of robots in Europe right now.
Yeah.
So that says a lot. And so it goes to some of that other technology though, to really keep the focus on Ibis Club. Would you say, so when you guys set up Top Tracer, would you say Top Tracer has exceeded the members' expectations? Because I think I already know the answer based on ball quantity or ball count hit, but I want it to come out of your mouth,
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. Yeah, I think, you can't put your finger on one thing. I think it's a combination of everything coming together, whether it's the robotic pickers and mowers, whether it's the flagged digital yardage devices, synthetic greens. We didn't really talk about the X, but we do have an X-shaped fairway out there as well, because we wanted to, our members to be able to, hit every type of shot on the practice range that they would potentially face on the course, and then, obviously adding the Top Tracer range has helped exceed those expectations. I mean, we put in the pickers based on a capacity of 50,000 balls a day, which before the renovation was happening during our holiday weeks, which were our busiest weeks of the year. This year we found, it was funny. We had a lot of questions from members up front saying, well, the pickers can't pick up all the balls. Why is that happening? Well, when we dove into it and we started figuring out, okay, how many balls are we putting out a day? Which is around 30,000 golf balls just to start the day. We're replenishing those. We found that we were hitting 70 to 80,000 golf balls a day, with a maximum capacity from the robots at 50. So of course they weren't keeping up because they have a maximum capacity. So we're going to work with Joe here in the coming month and add another picker to the mix there to make sure we have enough capacity to pick up the usage rate. But that just goes to show you, how engaged our members have been since we've opened the facility. They're hitting, a lot more golf balls a day than we anticipated. As I said, and I think it's pretty normal through COVID. Our rounds have been up as well. Typically we're around 105 to 108,000 rounds a year, at least pre-COVID. And then this past year, as I mentioned, we were over 120,000 rounds. So it's been fantastic from that standpoint. I can tell you, I think, from everything that we've done out there, we've already pretty close, if not at the point of our return on investment, just by seeing, how engaged our members are, the positive feedback from it. And, we actually had a couple prospective members come in and as they were touring the facilities, saw the driving range and the new facility and bought a home and a membership here without ever even playing the golf courses. It's just an assumption that, if the golf courses are even as close to as good as the practice facilities, I'm sold. And so we've sold a couple homes just based on the new renovation alone. So to me, we've already, been able to get our return on investment, based on the existing membership and a couple new memberships we sold.
Yeah. Well, and to take a little focus off automation, I mean, there's also just a culture you guys have there that I do have to say is top notch. I mean, I'm going to explain, hopefully you don't mind me saying this to some of the people on the show, but I'm saying it because I think you guys should be proud of it. I mean, very few places that I work where, Ben's like, hey, we have a cafeteria, feel free to use our cafeteria, and when I'm in the cafeteria, what I am impressed with is it's almost like you guys, so I have a core ethics committee at my company, but you guys have things literally printed on the wall that almost seem like Ibis Club's core ethics, right? Yeah. And it's all over. I mean, every place I go, it's in the cafeteria, and I see stuff in bathrooms, and
cart barn.
So it's in the cart barn, exactly. So, and even down to as a outside service contractor, because at the end of the day, that's what AOS does. We don't just set up robots and leave them. We're actually like a subcontractor that uses robots, right? I mean, that's really more like what we are. But it's to the point where their people are so customer service oriented that it's like I will pull up, they'll see an AOS van, and then their person that's usually dealing with bags and putting them on carts are like, here, Joe, here's a cart for you. I mean, I don't have to ask for one. It's like they have one, I leave, I go check the range. So I'm always amazed at the culture at Ibis. So I think it's a combination of things. It's for you guys, it's culture, technology, the conditions of the course, which always seem to be, in my opinion, pristine. that really feed into the success, at the club. So, kudos to you guys for that. Like I said, it's top notch. So, but so we're talking a lot about the practice facility and the things that I've kind of been involved in. But one of the things I always like to say is to make people think back, that 15 years or 20 years, because I feel like right now people look at automation like, oh, this stuff's all brand new. But I feel like, we've had GPS golf carts, right? Knowing where you're at on a range and showing yardage. So, on the main golf facility, you take out of the practice range, what are some things that you guys feel like you've automated and that's helped you, that you've seen in the game of golf as the state of the art, as you put it, like progresses? What's some of the older automation that people forget?
So one thing that we put in about 4 or 5 years ago, when I came here, one of the biggest challenges we had, because we do have such a big, diverse membership, was pace of play, everywhere you go, that's one of the most common things you hear about with golf. And one of the negatives is a slow pace of play. How do we get our members playing? Here, our pace of play is 4 hours, which seems to be about right. We'd like to see it a little faster if possible, but nobody wants to be out there for 5.5 hour rounds. So we partnered with the company about, like I said, 4 or 5 years ago. The name of the company is Course Ranger. So there's some great companies out there that help with pace of play, but we went with this company in particular because they have a little post that we have positioned at every tee box on all 3 of our courses. So as our members go out to play, what this does is it ties in to their system, and the members and their guests get automatic feedback to their position on the golf course. So it's kind of like a stoplight system. On this little post, they either see a green light illuminate, an amber light, or a red light. So it tells them right away if they get a green light, they know they're on pace. Keep playing, keep doing what you're doing. They get an amber light, they get that feedback right away that, hey, we're starting to slip a little bit, play ready golf. Let's get back and maintain our position on the golf course. And then, the sheer nature of this game at times, with you hit one out of bounds or in a penalty area and you have to re-hit, or you're searching for golf balls. So there's some times where groups are going to fall out of position and get behind pace. And so we don't want that to ruin the day for every group behind them. So that group will get a red light telling them, you need to move, you need to ready golf, get yourself in position. So our on-course professionals, have tablets, have iPads out there where they can see where every group is on the golf course. And so they're driving around, just trying to provide a great experience to the members. But if they see groups with red lights, they can go directly to those groups. They know they're behind pace or out of position. And so they can have that conversation with the group about, playing ready golf. They'll stay with the group, help them rake a bunker if they need to, pull the flag for them, just to try to help speed them up, to try to help get them, back in their proper position on the golf course, just so it doesn't ruin the day for every group behind them, just because one group is slow. And, so it's been a great tool for us, because the members already know why we're coming up to them. If they've seen, 2 or 3 holes with red lights and there's a big gap in front of them. So, we try to help them get back in position. And then obviously there are times where, it's not ideal and I know they don't like it, but, we may have to have them, skip a hole. We'd much rather frustrate 3 or 4, golfers than 80 to 100 behind them. So since we, introduced the system, we have seen the complaints go way down. The members understand the system now. We have hundreds of thousands of rounds of data on each golf course. So we know the average time it takes to play each hole. So there's no guesswork involved. It's like clockwork now, and even more so through COVID, going to individual golf carts. It wasn't a worry about 4 hour rounds. It was, we had some groups that, one wanted to play and could play, much faster than everybody else in their own golf cart. But the system has helped in both regards, to maintaining a steady pace of play so that all our members can enjoy their experience out on the golf courses.
Well, and so something I want to add to, because this is something that this is what I like to talk about is, so you bring up the stoplight system, and what it does is it allows your people to know what player, what hole has a red light, so you can just get there and get that person going faster. But
Yep.
one of the things that you said that I liked was the fact that then they stay with that person, they'll rake a bunker or whatever. And I know that one of the things that I talk about all the time is automation is not a people replacer. It helps people be more customer service oriented, which is, I know something that you're very passionate about. So by not having to drive and find those people, would you say that's what gives them the ability to stay with them and help get them sped up by doing like I'll rake the bunker for you, I'll help you find the ball? Am I right on that train of thought?
Absolutely. You're right. I mean, we could have easily gone away from, having on-course professionals with this system, but we didn't. We did reduce staff a little bit. We used to have one on-course professional per 9 holes. Now we just have one per 18 holes, because the system, allows us to see the problem areas right away, as opposed to driving around the entire golf course and trying to find those areas and figure them out. So it pinpoints it right away. We go to the problem areas. We're able to take the time to assist the members then the best we can. And so the automation has been a complement to having staff out there.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I always have to overcome, because the manufacturers like to call their automation robotics, like the robot pickers, the robot mowers. But I always feel like I have to remind people it's really an automatic picker and an automatic mower. And I always like to pull people back to that, because if you think of it like that, then you start thinking of an automatic dishwasher, an automatic play pacer, top tracer, automatic, technology or mapping. Like that's the way you look at it. Because when you look at it like that, you realize, people still have to assist, in which you guys are well aware of now with the robotics. Like,
Correct.
Either I'm going to assist or you're going to assist. You're gonna do the simple things, like if people think of us as like dishwasher mechanics, if you guys load a dish upside down, I say, hey Ben, if you load the dish right side up, it cleans better. Now the club does that. But if the dishwasher has a clogged jet, well, here comes AOS, and we fix the sonar or whatever, right? But that's the biggest thing with technology, is it's going to really start to emerge. I mean, driving ranges are just the beginning for you guys. We're going to be washing golf balls automatically soon. Then we're going to probably be mowing fairways, or at least roughs very soon. But there's still going to be people that have to assist them and make sure that the landscaping that was the way it looked today when we set up the automation stays that way, because bushes constantly grow, trees are constantly growing. So somebody has to make sure those outside elements stay true to the base of the installation of the automatic machine. So I think that's one of, like, going back to the stoplight system. I always look at things like that and just think of like how simple that probably multi-million-dollar idea was for whoever came up with it, right? I think that I've personally never played a course where I saw that. So how did you guys find it? Did they come to you, or did you find them?
We actually found them at the PGA show in Orlando, the international industry show there. We were researching several companies and came across this company, and started having conversations with them. And what we liked about it here, it was the instant feedback for the golfer. And so they could help themselves when they found that they were out of position, as opposed to waiting on our team to get to them. So there are some other systems out there that are really good, have a great, back of the house system, but there's no feedback to the golfers out there. And so we like that, and that's what sold us on it. But as you said, whether it's, that on our golf courses or the automated pickers on our driving range, it's what it's done is, we've cut back a little bit. We haven't had to have as much staff, but it's allowed us to evolve as well. I mean, it's allowed us to, really change some of the positions, on our staff to be more I guess, engaging with the members. So as you and I have had this conversation, instead of having somebody all day long on a picker out there that's costing the club and the members money, why not have the automated pickers out there doing that and having that person then available for member interaction, for member assistance. So the way we're going with it is we're trying to transition on our practice range away from, I don't know if the right term is laborers, but somebody in a picker, to more of a range concierge, more of a, how can we enhance the level of service, and the amenities for the members. And, people still have to do that. You still have to have people who are interacting and engaging, in our industry, our members, our owners here, to come out and enjoy themselves. So that to me is where we've been able to utilize the automation, but still keep the personal touch, there, to be able to provide that level of service to our members, our owners.
So do you feel, talking about laborers and the evolution of all businesses, I think consumers really just, at the end of the day, they remember customer service. Nobody's going to remember seeing somebody on a picker, but they will remember an interaction with a person, right?
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, that's what you guys are trying to achieve, is more human interaction and less just seeing a picker out on the range. But do you find, since you've been in golf, are you finding it's harder to find the younger people to do the labor on the range? And not even on a range. I mean, I'm talking anywhere. I mean, being grounds maintenance, like people picking golf balls. What's your take and feel and read on that?
Yeah, I mean, in general, our industry and many industries, especially since COVID, the workforce has been really hard to come by. We just had an all-day planning session yesterday here with our executives, trying to map out and figure out ways for us to, like every business right now, how do you retain good staff, and then, how do you go out and you recruit staff? And so, we're doing several things here, just trying to think outside the box and try to do what we can, to get, great employees here that can take good care of our members. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have employees, and people, we can't give our members what they want when they want it. So, we're transitioning to, we transitioned a few years ago. A lot of our staff are working 4 days a week, instead of 5. This business, this industry in golf, I mean, our busiest days are generally weekends and holidays. So, we're only making our staff work 1 day on the weekend. We're rotating holidays. So, everybody's working maybe 1-2 holidays a year, so we're trying to be cognizant of, what the next generation is looking for so we can attract, staff. But it's been difficult, as it has been, I'm sure, in other industries. I mean, we were down this last season, 8 to 12 employees from, our full complement of staff. And it was a challenge.
Are you finding, I mean, are there certain silos or pools where that labor is more difficult? Like, I mean, of course, for me, I'm thinking the outside facilities, right? But you obviously there's people that are working in the restaurant side. I mean, you guys are a big organization. So
yeah,
is there a certain area that's harder to find people, or is it kind of equal across the board?
Yeah, I mean, it's been difficult in golf operations. It was difficult in golf course maintenance. But really for us, the struggle was food and beverage. We have 4 restaurants on site here, and it was tough finding waiters and waitresses and bussers and bar backs. And then back of the house, the culinary, dishwashers. We have a garde manger department here for all of our cold foods. And so it's hard finding people for those positions. So what we do and what a lot of clubs in our area do is, we have to go outside the country. We recruit internationally, and for us in season to get to about 500 employees, we usually bring in about 130 internationals to complement our local workforce, because we just can't find enough, local people who want to work seasonally. And we are still a seasonal business here, because over half our members leave for the summer. So it's very difficult because we don't have enough full-time positions, to have, every employee here all year round, just based on the member usage. So we do, have to depend on the international workforce as well, and which presents other challenges, with housing and transportation to and from the club. And so there's a lot of logistics that go into, trying to bring in that international workforce.
And I think you bring up a good point, because when you bring up the seasonal employee, the one of the biggest struggles that I deal with, and the solution I try to offer, is people will be like, well, what do I do with that person? But a lot of times our solution is just helping with that seasonal person. It's really not helping with the full-time staff. And I think that's where we're going to see the majority of the automation get focused on, are those parts in organizations, even outside of golf, that it's a seasonal job, because it's the hardest thing. When you have a seasonal employee, you're constantly retraining, right? Like
Correct.
People never look into the fact of, how much money does it cost to get an employee up to speed? I mean, I don't know, maybe that cost at Ibis Club. I mean, I know for me, in my landscaping company alone, we've identified it's about $3,000 per head to get trained. It sounds like it's similar for you. So if you're bringing in all those different people, these are underlying costs that a lot of people don't even realize exist. Right?
Yeah, correct. And especially, I mean, with being at a club of this level and this stature, I mean, we can't just hire somebody today and put them on the floor tomorrow and expect them to provide great service if they've never done that job before, or if this is their first time in the club industry. I mean, it's, our members come to the restaurants, they're similar to regular restaurants outside the gates here, but, when they're coming to the club, they're expecting, good service. So, we actually, whereas in a typical restaurant, if a waiter or waitress has 5 or 6 or 7 tables, they may only have 2 or 3 here at the club, just to be able to provide a better level of service. So that takes more staff to do that. And, so you can't just throw them on the floor the first day, as you said. I mean, there's days and weeks of training, so that they're not only comfortable with the interaction side of it with the members or the guests, but on the back end to make sure that, they know the POS system, they can provide an accurate chit, at the end of the meal, so you're right. There's a lot of underlying costs that go into it that, most people don't realize, in order to provide a great level of service.
Speaking of the restaurant side, I'm glad I just thought about this, so I'd forgotten. Another cool thing you guys have is your food digester. Mm-hmm. Okay. When did that come about at the club, and where did you guys, who brought that idea to the club? Because I actually think it's fantastic.
So, we wanted to, as the members took over from the developer and our general manager here, Steve Logadice, wanted to put together what we called a Go Green initiative. We're a big club with a lot of waste. So what areas could we look at, to be, more of a friendly company, one who cares about the environment. So we actually put together a couple individuals from every department here at the club, and we let our employees kind of drive the bus when it came to that. And we had one of our executives in charge of the group. And so we had them go through each department and figure out, what areas and what ways we could, change things to become more environmentally friendly. So in my operation, we got away from the styrofoam cups, went to more of the environmental friendly cups, the paper straws. We actually sell the stainless steel straws here in our golf and lifestyle shop, as well as in the restaurants for any members who want to use those. We got away from just putting, ice water on the table. now members have to ask for it because there's so much waste with the water. But the biggest area, as you just mentioned, was our trash. And actually, we have 5 restaurants on property because, as you mentioned, we have an employee cafeteria as our 5th restaurant. So we're feeding 200 to 300 employees every day. So we had so much food waste, and I'm not sure where the group got the idea, but yeah, we've put digesters in every area here. So we have 0 food waste here at the club. Everything gets put into a digester. It turns into gray water, funnels out into the sewer system. And so, we've reduced our waste, more than half by adding the digesters.
And I mean, I have to say for the people listening, because sometimes you hear about this stuff and you're like, yeah, well, how much do they use it? I mean, when Ben gave me a tour of the facility and he brought me into the cafeteria, he literally showed me the process of when you're done with your meal, the food goes into this bin, the plate goes in that bin, and the glass goes into this bin, and dump the ice in with the food. I mean, to me, it was, and you may not realize this, it's odd. That's why I love doing these podcasts. It's like every time I go to one of these clubs, I'm with such top-notch leaders, and as a leader myself, I find it's like every person I partner with, I can learn from their levels of leadership. And I just thought it was fantastic that here I am, outside vendor, setting up a robot, and that was part of my on-site, this is what we do and how we do a training. And it just shows that for you guys, that's just what you do.
Right.
Somebody comes in and you show them how to do it. There was not like, oh, and let me show you this too. It's just was part of the process. So your guys' process is pretty amazing there. So we've talked a lot about the club, but I do want to take some time to talk about Ben, in your background and, what got you into this industry. I want to learn more about the younger Ben, so bring us back to the childhood coming into high school Ben that got you into this industry.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Northwest Ohio, outside of Toledo. And, as a kid, played, other sports, didn't really play golf until I was in middle school. And in middle school, got hooked. And, from then on, played mostly baseball and golf. Was actually able to make my varsity team as a freshman. Got to the level where I made it to the state championships in high school, played collegiately. And, when I was in high school, playing at states, I mean, obviously our state championships were hosted at Ohio State University, which is where Jack Nicklaus went to school. And so, we got to tour the little museum there and see, all the accomplishments of Mr. Nicklaus. And really, that was probably my first, I guess, maybe thought of potentially someday getting into the golf business. Obviously, playing at a high level in high school and then playing collegiately, everybody's dream is to play on tour. Not everybody's good enough to do that, obviously. So, when I played in a couple of the U.S. Open qualifiers and found out that, I wasn't as good as I thought I was, you start looking for plan Bs. And my local club pro was actually the one who helped me, get into the game of golf, through college. I went into college and my degree is in elementary education. So, part of my plan when I went to school was, teach, coach, have summers off, and just go that route. And he kind of pushed me into giving golf a try. And I was very fortunate to get hired at Tecumseh Country Club in Southeast Michigan, not too far from Toledo there, and had a great mentor and the PGA professional there, Bruce Frid, and just really kickstarted my career and I fell in love with it. And what's funny is, 20, almost 25 years later, here I'm at the club at Ibis and we're, we boast that we're the only club in the world with 3 Nicklaus family design courses. So, a few years ago when we renovated our signature golf course, we probably had Mr. Nicklaus out here a dozen times and getting a full drive around with him and talking to him about the renovation. And so it was pretty cool to kind of think about when I was in high school and seeing all that and at Ohio State. And then, years later, actually getting the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time with him was really pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell me about your family then.
Like family,
go from upbringing, mom, dad, and take me through the whole cycle here.
Okay. So mom and dad, obviously raised myself. I'm the oldest of three boys, two younger brothers. Father passed away about 5 years ago, unexpectedly. But the good news is he was actually on the golf course playing golf, and went down, and they said he was gone before he hit the ground. So, no pain, and got to go out doing what he loved to do. Prior to that, he was a mechanic, owned a service station. So we grew up around cars. He was always dabbling in. We always had old Corvettes, and he was fixing up, selling. So that was pretty cool as kids, riding in Corvettes. And as we got a little bit older, he got into the 1960s Camaros and did some full restoration projects there. And so my brothers and I are all car guys. My brothers have newer Corvettes, and I have an old 69 Camaro. So we're all into cars. My brothers still play a little bit of golf, not as much anymore. They have kids. But it's just my wife and I here in Florida. She's a school teacher, elementary school teacher. And, so we're both pretty much married to our careers and chose that life, about not having kids. But we have 7 nieces and nephews that are fantastic. And for us, we do a lot of, we're doing these days, we're doing some car shows now. And, that's fun for us. And my wife likes to read. I still like to get out and play golf every now and then when the opportunity presents itself. And our probably our biggest love is Ohio State football. So my nephew is a student. I forget what his title is, student trainer or something now for the football team. He's a student at Ohio State. So we'll be heading up to probably about 3 or 4 games this fall.
It's amazing. And I'm actually so glad I asked this question then, because I don't know if you know this, but I'm a car guy myself, and I had because I actually just sold it, but I had a 2015 Z06. So being a Corvette person, it was Shark Gray, 3LZ, carbon package, one of my favorite cars I've ever had. I kind of can't believe I sold it, but the market is so insane right now. I could not pass up the businessman in me was like, I got to take the money and I'll get on a waiting list for one. But then, and then I have a 95 Mustang, knowing that your dad was a mechanic with a wrench. I got a 95 Mustang that's got a Vortec 13-pound supercharger on it with trick flow heads, 525 horsepower with tire dyno. So I'm a car guy myself, Ben. And all this time we spent together.
See, and we haven't, right. We hadn't even discussed that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's awesome. So what brought you to Florida then? Just the job? I mean, just golf itself, or was Florida someplace you always wanted to be?
No, it's funny how life, where life takes you. So I was in Michigan, as I mentioned, at the small private club. My boss, my mentor there, had just decided to retire after 25 years. They gave me the opportunity to be the head golf professional there, as I mentioned, when I was about 25. So I was a couple years into that. My wife and I actually built a home, thinking, okay, this is going to be our forever home. And, hopefully I'll have 25 years here at the club as well. And they took a chance on me, and I wasn't even a PGA member yet. So I still had some of the PGA schooling to go through. And at the time, all of that was being done down here at Port St. Lucie. So I came down for one of the education. And at that time, you came down for a week. And so they put you up in the condos there at PGA Village. And so there's 4 of us in each room, 2 bedrooms with 2 beds in each room and a big common area in the middle. And so the first day when you come in, you have to test. And if you don't pass their initial tests, they won't let you go through the rest of the week. they'll fly you home, And so out of our quad, only 2 of us passed all the tests and got to stay. Well, the gentleman that I was paired with that got to stay is now the director of golf at St. Andrews in Boca. And at the time was the lead assistant there, I believe, getting ready to become the head professional. So that was I want to say that was probably August maybe of 2005, where we met. He then came up a couple months later to do a V1 training, which is a teaching and coaching system. They're located in Livonia, Michigan. So he was coming up. He contacted me. He's like, "Hey, I'm coming up. Meet me for dinner." So we met for dinner, chatted a little bit, and went our separate ways. And about a month or 2 months later, he calls me up. Is like, "Hey, don't know if you've ever even considered it, but we're going to have a position open here at the club. Have you ever considered moving to Florida?" And I'm like, "No." I just explained to him, I've only been in this role a couple of years. We just built a house, so no, probably not interested. And he's like, "Oh, don't give me an answer. Are you coming to the PGA show in January?" I said, "Yeah, my wife and I will be there." Because at the time I owned the golf shop. So, I would go and just check on a lot of my orders and hopefully see some new stuff to put into the golf shop. And so we met, he and the director of golf at the time from St. Andrews, and went to dinner with them. And actually the next day drove to Boca to see the facility. And it is one of the premier facilities here in Southeast Florida. I mean, very affluent, 36 holes. And it was just an opportunity I couldn't pass up. So, within about an 8-month span, went from never even considering moving to Florida to making the move in April of 2006.
Well, I do have to say he was a pretty smart guy telling you to come down to Florida in January from Michigan.
Absolutely.
I mean, for real. It's like what was the first time I met you? We probably met in August, right? Yeah. I think the first time, and I literally was like, "Man, I might be melting." Like I was trying to talk to you, and I'm like, "My skin's still on me," Right. And then I came down to put it in the winter, and I was like, "I'm looking for houses," and now I have an apartment in Fort Lauderdale. Right. I mean, it's like if you come to Florida from the Midwest in the winter, you're moving there. There's no doubt about it.
Exactly. And in this industry, the one thing that I never even thought about or considered until I got here was, up north, you're working in whether it's Wisconsin, Michigan, New York, in the middle of the summer, it's light until 9:30 at night, so, I would go into work in the shop in Michigan. The hours were 7 to 7, and I'd have, some of the members calling me saying, "Hey, I'll get out of the office tonight, but I'm not going to be there till like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Can you give me a lesson?" So you're going to stick around for a lesson and not finish until 9 or 9:30 at night. Well, here, our busiest days are in the winter, which are the shortest days. So it's dark by 5:30, so, if you're looking for a good work-life balance as a golf professional, even though it's year round, Florida is definitely the place to be because your busiest days are the shortest days of the year.
Now that is a unique, interesting thing I would have never thought about, but it does totally make sense. And because that's the only good thing in the North about winter is it gets darker. Well, now they got rid of the daylight savings, but it gets dark at like 3:30, and I'll come home if I don't have to be down south doing golf, automated systems. But it's like, man, there's a lot of time left in the day before I'm going to go to sleep because it's dark, Right. So it is kind of crazy that when it gets dark, you're not going to be out on the range. You're done, or on the course. You're done.
Exactly.
So my producer is going to laugh. He writes me these outlines, and this thing has flowed so good. I'm so far from the outline, it doesn't make a difference. That we've literally spent an hour together, and I could probably spend another hour with you, Ben. You're literally made for podcasts. This has been a great time with you. With that, I think it's a wrap. You got anything else that you think I missed that you wanted to add about Ibis Club?
No, Joe, I just wanted to say, hey, thank you for inviting me. It was great being on. And just, for everybody that's on this, I just want to say to you that I appreciate the partnership. As you've mentioned, you have not sold us a bill of goods. You've honored everything that you've told us, and you've been a great partner for us. And we know that if we have any issues, you're going to be right there, going to be dependable, and you have been. And that's why I think it's worked out so well for both of us that, we're both on the same page. We both want the same things. And, so for us and kind of, our culture here is, it's got to be good for both parties, and those are the types of businesses and companies and people that we want to partner with, where it's going to be, a win-win and put both of us in a position to be successful. So thank you there. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the club here. It's an honor for me to be the director of golf here. I mean, I have such a great team of people here. As I mentioned earlier, it all starts at the top here with our general manager and COO, Steve Logadice, who took a chance on me as a guy with no director of golf experience to come in and lead this operation. And, I don't take that lightly, and I really do, appreciate it and love it here. And if anybody on this has any questions or concerns, please reach out. Be more than happy to talk a little bit more about, the great things we're doing here at the club and hopefully being a leader in our industry.
And I got to tell you, the people that took a chance on you, they saw a great person when they saw one, because you are a top-notch leader. And even the way you just said that and recognized the club and the people, I mean, you're just one heck of a guy and a person, and you're someone that I'm glad I've met and I'm glad to partner with. I love your guys' club, and I look forward to all of the really cool stuff I know we're going to do together in the future. And I appreciate the partnership more than you know. So
thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, with that wraps this episode with Ben Bauer, and thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it.